Okay, so I guess we'll start or
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll start right now.
Prashant, I think wait for 2 minutes more because many people are trying to log in. I'm getting message on the another screen out there.
Okay,
I think it's 5:03. Let's start by 5:05.
5.
How do we look at those questions which are going to pop up on the screen? Any idea?
You have this Q&A thing out here at the bottom. So out there, if you just open that, all the questions will be there.
Okay. So I think it's only me and Vineet in the t-shirt. Everybody else is formally dressed.
Yeah, I'm worried about that.
Yeah.
The world here has opened up, so we do have meetings and stuff like that going on. I think this is the 10th day without the lockdown, and things are pretty much resuming back.
Ashutosh, we can barely hear you actually.
Am I audible now?
Better than before, but I think you need to make it more audible when a lot of people's gonna be there.
Okay.
This will impact your recording as well.
Check, is it audible now? Better? Or
Lot better. Yeah.
Lot better? Okay. All right.
So I think we have a lot of participants already. If they can hear us all, I think we can have a little sound test with them so that all the speakers are audible enough. There will be lesser interruptions in between then.
Yeah.
Guys, if you can say hi on the chat window, if it is audible to you all. Thank you. That confirms we are audible enough. Prashant, I think we are good to go now.
Okay. Right. So good evening, everyone. And thanks for being a part of this webinar, which is powered by Radio City 91.1. Let me take this opportunity to thank all the panelists and Mr. Manoj Asrani for moderating this webinar. Thanks also to the attendees who are, joined in from different parts of India. So I'm your host, Prashant. I'm the founder of InspireEnd. InspireEnd is basically, it's an emerging platform where we are planning to bring together individuals from all parts of India who have had an inspirational life story to share. We are soon planning to take these events in different cities of India once this lockdown, the government starts allowing it, and bring forward these local inspirational individual life journeys for others to take inspiration from. So we have started this webinar series called A Different World, and this is the third part of that webinar series. So I will just so I'll just introduce our moderator, Mr. Manoj Asrani. He's the coach, speaker, sales and marketing expert. He is a member of World Speaker Forum, American and Indian Speaker Forum also, ICF certified CLC, CEC and CODC coach with 17 years of dynamic career in business head, lead strategist, marketing communication, sales and brand management. He has launched products across multiple categories, managing multimedia campaigns across the country, leading high growth and new businesses and brand launches. So,
thank you, Prashant, but this intro need to change a lot. And that's why I'm on this webinar now.
okay.
Because I'm the expert of yesterday's world and the new world. Even it's unknown to me now. So I think Vineet and, all the panel out there, Amit and all need to talk about today that what's going to happen and what we need to adapt so we can survive and thrive in the same market. And all the participants along on the session are here for the same purpose. Now, before I proceed, it's a very interesting one chat that I'm seeing across. So I need to address that and then move forward. So hi, Dr. Anil Kumar from Pakistan. And that's very interesting of you to write out there because that's the new world we are entering to. We were already there, but the transition that has happened in last 1 month was expected to happen maybe by 2025 or 2030. That has happened. And we are in the world of without boundaries now. So, in this online business environment which we are thriving upon, we don't know which geography we belong, but yes, we all are equals and sitting face to face through a screen, and that's what we look forward for. So that will form the context as well. So going back to the screen now, Prashant, if we can have the screen.
Yeah.
So to all the panelists, first of all, welcome again. Prashant, thank you for having us all together over here. So we have a bunch of very senior professionals out here who are going to help us decode the new world that's been there sooner. So 2 weeks of lockdown extended, and after that, lot of, open and close things being expected. But moment it's being open, it's going to be the same. So to understand that, we have first, Prashant, can we keep moving the slides?
Yes.
So we have first Mr. Ashutosh Sahu from Shobha Reality. So happy to have you, Mr. Ashutosh, and you have been into FMCG, you have been into IT, manufacturing, and now real estate. So real estate is being talked the most about. Many people are even asking the queries, should we continue investing in it? After TCS talking about in my last webinar, Leader in You. So one guy asked me a very, valid question. TCS says 75% of their employees will do work from home. Now, if it is a work from home, why will they choose Bombay as a location or Bangalore or Delhi? Because the flats in Bombay, Delhi and Bangalore are not very, size-wise not comfortable enough to work from home kind of situations. So why not they move back to, smaller places, smaller towns? And that is not only about TCS, and it's talking about entire shift in the economy that's going to happen. So I think we're going to hear from you and many participants to hear from you. What do you think real estate's going to change about? Will there be a correction for already, difficult stage of real estate, which it was already from last couple of years, and 2020, everybody was expecting a great change. But unfortunately, there is no major change and we see Corona now. So that's what we need to talk about and how virtual sales going to take place in India.
Sure.
So moving from Ashutosh to next panelist. Vineet Singh, same guy whom we see in the smaller screen, but the beard has just been trimmed. That's what I see as a difference. So Vineet, same applies to you from Embassy Group. You have been into FMCG, you have been into consumer durables. In fact, you had been selling online in Make My Trip about the travel world, and travel, I think, is the biggest, affected market right now. 13 to 14 companies already filed bankruptcy, from Air Mauritius to Virgin selling its stake to Chinese investors and all. So we're going to know from there to real estate again, how, Bangalore or real estate as a market in whole going to see the change. Will customer agree to virtual site visits now? Because till now site visit was the primary factor for any sales to happen. So how will that work up? Zoom and all sales pitches are going on across various rock, all of hard, but is that work? Is consumer, accepting that? Because anyways, at sales office, they don't see a real building. It's under construction, especially for primary markets. So that's where we're going to address that more from. And the change marketing methods that we're going to see in real estate is the most important very. So from Vineet now, we move to Rahul Mishra. Rahul is from one of the most, apt platform whom we're going to hear a lot, Shimaru, because, entertainment is the only sector which we have been consuming more and more in the lockdown period. So I think the only business that can say we have been still growing, we have been still making money and revenue. But is there a bandwidth to accept more? Is there a change that we see beyond what's been traditional out there? Netflix and Amazon says they have acquired double the users than they were anticipating for the entire year already. So keeping that data points in mind, what is that new thing we're gonna see? So what is that shift that we're going to talk about? How media is getting planning the next step of COVID 2.0, how sponsors going to react, how revenues going to react. Because now to get sponsors, I'll be coming straight to some direct questions as well. So getting a sponsor for any of our programs or, IPs or, any content that we create, we used to, hunch around sponsors, go and meet them, series of rounds of meeting, understanding their requirement and changes. But now can we be able to close all these on a phone call or an email is a question that we're going to look forward for. So next from Rahul, we move to Prashant, slide next. Amit. So Amit, lot of questions that have already come from, registrations for you, and people gonna really request you to light up their life as well as Siska has been doing. So more sponsorship for Kapil Sharma show. Will Siska keep on doing? But there will not be there, because same kind of revenue pockets is what we target. Is the annual budget April to March 2020 is same as 2019, more or less? So how is that change gonna happen? Will people buy LEDs as well online now? How does that gonna function entirely? We need to hear from you. And you have been an RJ, so obviously your verbose skill is gonna dominate the most today, I think so, and that's what we're gonna hear about as well. So from Amit, next is so I think this is the panel I've already introduced. Radio City guy had to drop out due to restrictions, which all the TV channels, radios, and media platforms have given to their people, that they cannot create their own, opinions out there on any channel and public platforms. So we have all the four eminent panel out there. So to the panel, the questions are, similar. They don't change, and lot of points that we see across, and a lot of questions that we have interpreted in that in one slide. So Prashant, we can have a slide back again. And that slide says, and everybody is worried, the business has come to a standstill. People are worried. Many are worried about their jobs, or businessmen or entrepreneurs are worried about the losses that they're gonna make. Every business was not meant to work in offline to online mode in such a short span of time. People were not geared up for this unwanted lockdowns. People hadn't planned that such depth kind of impact will happen. Is it, obviously we can't debate lockdown was right or wrong, because the numbers of India, keeping the population and density in mind, tells that it is the best step that government could have taken, keeping all the conditions in the Indian environment. But still, now is the question come of another pandemic. And that pandemic is unemployment. So many people are worried. I'm a coach as well, and I'm getting a lot of, CXO calls already, that they are not able to cope up with the mental stress that they are getting. So bigger the guys, bigger is the challenges. That's what I've been anticipating. Bigger is the losses, bigger is the credibility questions, and bigger is the survival questions. Best company guys are asking a question, whether will they survive or not, is the query that's coming up. Why? Because public gatherings not allowed now. Now, they are not allowed for 3, 6, 9 months is one query. Second query is, this will become the new norm. If that's the new norm, many industries gonna change, like an event industry. This is Web Summit. What are we having now? Otherwise, we used to have big events in some big venues, calling some 1,000+ people to hear the panel out there. So this is the way things have been changing. So we need to address that. Travel will not be that easy. All of us on the panel, we had been traveling very, very often. One city to another, another to one country, and back to back forth. Now we will have to choose from. If I have to travel Dubai again, I'll have to think 10 times. I couldn't get stuck in a lockdown over there for another 3 months, which I don't know will happen, will not happen. Nobody can assure me. No COVID vaccine has been till found out. So having a second kind of, spread or a wave coming in, nobody knows about that. People have their own theories. Every news channel is taking one kind of economics that's coming in shape. So that's what we need to understand how can one adapt at this time? How can one be insured? How can one talk about, survival statistics? I'm not talking about, leap growth. There will be people who are talking about leap growth as well, because every problem comes with some opportunity. Every, recession has called for some top business to flourish. So will happen in this as well. I have seen Grofers, Big Basket, all of them raising revenues, good VC fundings flowing into them. So that's all what we had been witnessing. But now coming back, for all the other sectors and businesses, how this new environment gonna react and what is required. The marketing guys are not gonna be the same. The print and outdoor budgets, which used to take the larger pie, will there be a space for them anymore or not? Especially real estate, if you talk about, Times treaties had been into fashion. A $1 billion treaty used to be done with barter values against Times of India's or all the print medias, White Times, all the print medias. But now will there be any more newspapers physically that we be reading? Or if there is digital, we're going to spend that, because digital, we are not restricted to one part. We just flock on from one website to another, one URL to another, one link to another. So will that be what kind of environment? Because if you ask me, I can keep asking questions, because questions are endless right now. But the only query is what's there tomorrow, so that we can plan today. So starting from this, let's have Rahul first. So Rahul, if you can start with your thoughts on that, and we can move to panel by panel on that.
Sure. Thank you, Manoj, and thank you, Pankaj. I think great introduction set for today's discussion. While we'll all have a few point of view from the marketing community, but we all know that it's a lot of it is speculation, and some of it may be our personal viewpoints, which may not be agreeable by the entire organization or the industry we represent. Because there is no set format which has come out of it as yet. Talking from a media and entertainment perspective, and specifically what has happened post-lockdown is the emergence of essentially two screens, which has become an essential commodity now. So it's mobile and television, which is sort of seeing a huge surge. Shemaroo, we run an OTT app called Shemaroo Me. We've been seeing some really good traction on the app. A lot of users coming from all parts of India onto our OTT app, either through the web version or installing the app directly and using our content to get themselves entertained. If you ask me, most of us, all of us in the OTT industry have seen a huge surge. Including television as well. We've all seen some great growth happening there. Not the most ideal way to get consumers. We would rather, get them in when the entire situation is much better. But now since we're seeing a growth, I think the biggest challenge we are essentially now facing is, or looking at is, how do we retain this set of customers who are coming to us right now? I think that's something which will it be a new normal for us? We don't know. But the surge most of us have seen, we need to sort of maintain that, continue with that. And that's what we are all working towards. And also on Shemaroo, we are working towards that. Interestingly, just to give you an update, amidst the lockdown, we just yesterday, we also launched the Hindi general entertainment channel. There is a huge surge of content consumption taking place in India right now across television as well. We were anyways preparing to launch a Hindi channel, and we went live yesterday as well. So our entire strategy actually is to ensure that as an organization, because we've been there in the Indian market for about 57 years now, we want to get entertainment, which has now become more of a necessity product to more and more audiences and consumers immediately. And that's what we're working on. In terms of what is the new normal for us and how will we market and how will we advertise, if you want, I can sort of get into that right now as well, or maybe I can wait for my turn otherwise. But just to give a quick summary, I think the new normal for us, especially in media and entertainment and companies like Shemaroo, is a lot of digital usage, We're going to see that a lot happening because consumers have switched to digital very, very rapidly. And looking at more reach mediums like television to sort of grow our brand that's what we're going to focus on.
Rahul, very interesting question that comes to my mind while you are telling this. Two part of it. One, every data and stats shows that there is surge in users across digital platforms. You name the platform, there is a surge. It's about the fight about who everybody has got a pie over there. The question is, there is no data that tells what's the stickiness of this audience. Is the behavior same what used to be in the past? Or no, it's beyond that now. It's like just switching on and switching off, switching on and switching off, or coming up and not repeating up. I don't know, because earlier it was a very set trend and pattern based on choices. I'm an Amazon guy. I was not Netflix guy. Now I have Netflix, Amazon. You name an OTT platform, I have subscribed to it because the content is not enough to suffice for 24 hours now, because apart from that, we don't have anything to hog upon. And it's not me. It's all members of the family that we need to cater to. So keeping that transaction in mind, what is the change? You guys definitely have some analysis or stats that tells how is this consumer reacting now? How is this animal changed now?
There has been actually a very, very big change, now across not even OTT, even television, 7 p.m. is your prime time now. So there has been a shift in that as well. OTT, yes, because we can measure exactly what audiences are doing very, very well, what kind of content they're watching, when are they watching, how long are they watching for, and where are they coming from as well, So that is creating, so for example, on Shemaroo Me, from a marketing point of view, from a growth point of view, I had say 10 cohorts previously, and I would have segmented customers based on certain behavior and content consumption patterns. That has entirely changed for us right now. The way consumers interact with their preferred OTT app is not the same at all. I won't have direct inferences of data to share with you as to what the shift has happened, but I can tell you it's been massive. It can range from millennials watching, cult classics to metro audiences watching devotional content. So it's actually been a big sort of a shift of content consumption behavior happening across the platform. So we've not been able to put together. Sorry?
It's yet to be settled now.
It's yet to be settled. No, yeah, exactly. So it's yeah. So the point is that if you ask me the last 45, 50 days, are we seeing a decline or a dip? No, we're not. We're still seeing a growth. And at least for Shemaroo, I can talk about that. We're still seeing a growth in that even now.
Seems interesting and positive. Good to start with a positive note now. Starting with many people now. Prashant, if we can have Vineet in the focus now. So he has not yet said a word now. So Vineet, it's your turn now. So real estate, I hope you can say same like Rahul. We are just getting surge of customers, flats flying high, prices going 30% up.
Just to start off, right, I kind of agree with what Rahul said. But one of the things that we need to realize is this the new normal? We don't know. We don't know yet, right? It could become a part of the new normal, but we don't necessarily know if this is the new normal. One. The second, if you look at it, the trends have been on a rise, right? Let's go back to about 4 months back. Digital was still on the rise. OTT platforms were on the rise. What did happen during the COVID period is everything became a lot more fast. People started, consumers started accepting things a lot more easily and quickly, which obviously increased the pace for OTT platforms. And like Rahul mentioned, there's enough to go out and launch a new channel at these times also and acquire new consumers. So it's across categories. I feel that consumer mindset is going to change. We are in the real world round, right? We will change based on times. It's not necessarily Corona or COVID is the situation that's making us change, but you'll see us change a lot more in the next few years based on new things that are coming. What I feel from a real estate point of view, and I've been lucky to be working with Embassy, which also leads, one of the biggest co-working brands in India, which is WeWork, which is a lot into innovation in the marketing space as well. I feel opportunities like these lead to a lot of opportunities for innovation. As marketing, it's not just about telling stories, right? how can we change enough in our product to go and influence this new requirement in the real world? Like you were talking, Manoj, right in the beginning, from a real estate point of view, I mean, visual or online tours going to be the new thing? Maybe. I mean, that's where everyone is looking at. We at WeWork also have formed that into a part of our plan. But at the end, we'll also need to notice how the consumer changes after they come out of this lockdown. How much of this change in habit that they've accepted while staying at home, how much of that we see even when they come out? And that's going to be critical in formulating strategies. From a real estate standpoint, I understand there are a lot of companies talking about work from home and everything else around it. My strong belief is in the Indian subcontinent, especially where people are very outgoing, like going out, meeting people, engaging with people, I think work from home is not going to last for that long a period. I mean, I'm sure all of us want to get back to work at some point of time. So, I mean, I don't see, yes, I mean, all industries are going to be affected across categories, some in a good way, some in a bad way. But I feel the industries that optimize and innovate the most will be able to, be a big hit. And that's similar for the real estate industry as well.
So what about price correction discussions that's been happening in the papers and the media from a month? What do you think? Nitin Gadkari is saying builders start selling at no sell, no profit so that you can just survive. So what do you support on that?
Manoj, I don't think it's too early to be talking about price corrections and price changing strategies. Honestly, if you look at it, yes, for us, it feels like a long time. I mean, it's been almost 1.5 months. However, I feel broad strategies which going to affect industries from a price perspective as well as, a change in demand perspective. It'll take some more time. I don't think, I think people are being currently, I like that everyone's being very aware and wanting to take actions before time, but I feel a lot of this will go back into being what already was. Yes, consumers' pattern will change, but I don't think pricing strategies or defining product strategies and making big changes to it now is the right time. I think we'll need to wait for it for a little more before, especially on an industry like real estate, where we look at it, look at what the consumer pattern is after they come back out, and then take a call on that.
Vineet, very interesting. One more data is there. There is larger shift of laborers happening from all the metros. The laborers have got a choice of life versus livelihood. So one query or one theory that I've been following very strongly is many economists or people on the news channel debate hours, they have been talking about that these laborers, majority of them are not going to return back. Because the way they have been treated, they have to walk down. You must have seen reports from Bombay till UP, they have walked up and, they had days without food. They have been beaten by many. There were survival questions. All these stuff happened. Now this metros, all of the metros, I come from Bombay. You are embassies very strong on the southern side of, India. There is a metro. All these construction activity is largely depend on these migrant laborers. They become the workforce on the ground. Now with the absence of this workforce, there will be a great impact on construction overall. Or if the new labor contractor, he help us bringing them back, the cost will not be the same. There will be a very large amount of cost outflow that's going to be done. And across developers, I was on CREDAI and MCHI webinar yesterday as well. I heard them. So they were all concerned about this portion very strongly. So what do you think Embassy has done for that, or other developers whom you know, or what is the solution for this kind of situation?
So, see, honestly, it's pretty sad from what we hear in the news in what's been happening with migrant laborers. Like I said, what we hear in the news is what we know is true. So we can't really comment on details of everything that's happening. But from an embassy standpoint, I would just like to tell you that we've got a program in place where we're taking care of our partners, I wouldn't call them laborers, but our artisans, as well as people who are helping us in constructions. We're taking care of them. We're taking care of them on a daily as well as a monthly basis. Partnering with a lot of other partners who can help them indirectly and directly. So we have a plan in place, and we're already implementing that plan across Bangalore and across other cities that we are present in. So from an embassy standpoint, that is mostly taken care of. However, from an industry standpoint, what I feel is we will need to. See, it is a real problem, right? It is a real problem. Like I said, people have moved cities. A lot of, let's not just talk about the laborers. I know a lot of people who are urban Indians or people who work in MNCs have all, before the last flight took out, they all went back home. They will take their time to come back when offices open about a month later. I feel that is a challenge. However, each industry will need to identify what exactly how it's going to affect them, and then figure out a solution around it. But I feel most of India is going to get back to, once the situation gets better, get back to doing what they do. Because if Corona, as Rahul was mentioning, if COVID is going to be a part of our lives going forward, we'll need to have to figure out a way to walk around it, right? And not trample over it. So based on which industry, what is affecting them, they'll need to figure out a way to target it. But like I said, Embassy, we've partnered with people to go out and take care of all our partners so that they are safe and also taken care of during this period.
Perfect, Rahul. Perfect, Vineet. Gives a lot of meaning to it, but still a little of caution and worry is there. I was just going through Mumbai Mirror today, e-paper. If you have seen the cover page in Mumbai's edition, it's scary. It talks about some 25 lakh people being transported from Mumbai to other states. 25 lakh. This calls for a lot of, questions internally actually. One is the laborer. Second is, change in demand supply gap, because when people move, they move out with a lot of, vacuum economy. There is lesser demand, lesser people to eat and feed. There is lesser people to commute. There is lesser takers for malls and other aspects. It's really going to impact in a bigger fashion. Yes, I think your last line is a punching line that we need to yet evolve and understand the situation to react to it. So yes, fingers crossed. I hope this is just temporary phase that we are going through, but still questions are really mammoth sized to it. So now from Vineet, let's go to Ashutosh to support from the real estate side, that lockdown 3.0, Ashutosh, what you feel is gonna be happening, because each company has a lot of brainstorming happening internally. If you can throw upon that.
Look, I have been not so connected with the Indian real estate for the last 3 years or so, but I can definitely give you a global perspective, which is Middle East, London, China, and what is happening across. And what are the trends that are likely to catch on in India, and what are the trends which we may not catch in India. As we speak, I think we are in the 10th day now of the lockdown being released, and we are seeing businesses pretty much crawl back to normal. And the way I have been looking at it, and the way I've been structuring discussions personally, is sort of divide the timeline into 4 key parts, which is the crisis phase itself, which I see lasting till about the end of May or start of June. What we will see this month is, continents and countries across the world in various phases going to lift their lockdown statuses. The second phase is going to be what I call the epiphany. So where a lot of so-called fortune tellers have been saying that media will change forever, FMCG will change forever, this will change forever, that will change forever. Anybody who wants a share of voice, it just prophesizes with, yaar, ye to hamesha ke liye change ho jayega. All right. So none of that is going to happen. And, I can say it fairly confidently. And whatever is going to change is going to be in the icing and not the cake itself. The core is pretty much going to remain the same. If we look at real estate, right, Vineet would agree that we have always been seeing that the recession is coming, because it's nothing new. And I really, really admire Vineet's views and agree with the fact that COVID, if anything at all, is just a catalyst. It's not a cause. So there is this famous saying in statistics and mathematics: causality is not correlation, correlation is not causality. So COVID per se is not going to change anything in the world. It is just going to make organizations more accepting, people more open to change, because COVID or no, world war or no, there will be businesses. Businesses will continue to thrive. There will be some who will go out of operations, who are not able to become efficient in their operations. So the labor crisis that you mentioned, right? So there will be companies who struggle to get contractors at preferred rates, so that might impact their gross margins. But there will also be companies which are like fully backward integrated, which have a support system, which have long-term contracts with contracting firms, who will manage to source labors. At least in Dubai, I mean, you might see a large outflux of Pakistanis and Filipinos, but there is, at the same time, there is also an influx of Bangladeshis and Sri Lankans. So I mean, it's a balance, right? So some laborers who were there in cities might go back to villages. Some people who were there in villages and their agriculture or produce suffered, they might choose to sort of explore this opportunity, being a laborer in one of these larger cities. So net, the equilibrium of the world is not going to get shattered. Now, coming back to the pricing perspective, I agree with what Vineet said in terms of off-plan. It's too early to take calls on pricing. Okay, and most real estate organizations, unfortunately, do cost plus pricing. So if you have a certain cost, the promoter says, okay, I want 25%, 32% gross margin on this SKU, and then that is how pricing is done. It's not demand led. But I have also been connected to about over 1,000 brokers in this part of the world. And what we have seen is a straight 35% cost reduction in the secondary market. So the apartments in which I'm staying currently, it's in Burj Khalifa neighborhood, and where the prices were used to be 1.2, 1.5 million in secondary market, they are now trading at 800, 900 million, 800, 900,000. So I am seeing a 35, 40%, and the rentals are also reducing, and yields and rentals are straightly correlated. So we may see a correction in off-plan pricing, but what will happen for sure is there will be a huge influx of demand, a surge of demand in secondary as well as the rental markets. Because what has happened, at least for the housing industry, is every channel, every media has been, every billboard, at least in Dubai, tells you, stay home, stay safe, stay home, stay safe. So when your brand or category is part of conversations at such a large scale, it's only obvious that the demand for housing is going to increase. So, and we are actually going to see a lot of millennials and Generation Z. And I was just scrolling through my Facebook feed. So there's this gentleman who was a management trainee back in the days when I was with SR. And he has recently posted a photo of his new home, how he is happy doing Griha Pravesh amidst lockdown. And he's, in his late 20s? So if you go back a couple of years, these guys were pretty much interested in doing Euro trips, South American trips, Latin American trips, going to Australia, doing scuba diving and all that kind of things, right? So it was experience over assets. And that was the mentality of the millennials and the Generation Z. But what COVID will do is suddenly put a brake on those travel plans. And it will sort of force people to think of some kind of permanence. And what it will do is it will create a long-term demand for housing. See, obviously these guys are not going to have enough capital or cash to invest in housing right away. But the thoughts have been sowed at this stage because of this pandemic. And it is going to force them to think that, okay, maybe I should not be so reckless in travels. And it is also going to happen because there have been, on an average, 30 to 40% wage cuts in this part of the world. I don't know how it is back in India. There have been companies who have sort of requested people for 2 months without pay and, supporting from every other perspective in terms of insurance, medical, etc. All the supports are there, but wages have been cut. So it is going to make this audience, who were initially earlier investing on luxury goods, cars, or experiential travel, to sort of start thinking of having at least one home, which they can call a base for times like this, and then see how life goes from there.
Perfect, Ashutosh. I think you have been joining the league of big wigs who are all saying that it's nothing, but everything is going to be back normal when things come to routine. I second that. One mind of everyone says that, yes, it's true. Because if given a chance of going out, we'll go back what we were doing, and we were all happy in that space. But on the second part, if you notice, there are some interesting aspects to it. Real estate is the third largest employer in India. There are million plus brokers only in India who are registered. There are another million billion people who just do freelancing real estate who are not even accounted in. 2017, $4 billion was the fees accounted in brokerage itself as per data, which is a recorded data. There is great amount of unrecorded data as well, which we all are aware in real estate. Third, it's the only sector where very few companies, even at the top level, are listed. Especially in the south, that pattern of getting a listed company is there. But when you come to, this part of Western India or Northern India, hardly there are companies who have even grown on obnoxious size. They have not been listed. So apart from those top listed brands, 99% create an environment of developers who are heavily leveraged, for whom this short-term correction will not be taken very strongly in their books, because last couple of years they were already struggling. First was demonetization, then was RERA, then was GSC, and then this NBFC crisis cannot also be ruled out, because that was their ventilator, that was their ICU, where books were getting reborn and reborn and reborn, and that was giving them life. Now, in last couple of months, they had no choice but to close their outstanding, because no new NBFCs or even existing NBFCs were ready to lend more. So this 3 or 4 or 6 months of impact, will they be able to sustain? And so the brokers, because brokers have very if you see their graph is not linear. For them, this month was very important for Western India. Gudi Padwa, Akshaya Tritiya and all that stuff. After that, they go into heavy monsoons. Post monsoons come Diwali season. So now immediately from January, they went into monsoon, and they will be, not active for 8 to 9 months. So many of them might not be able to sustain this, backlash that's coming up. So definitely we have to, buy in for some larger chunk of people, developers, brokers. There will be an impact which will be like irreversible. And that impact will also impact sentiments of many buyers largely. So how, Oberoi's, Embassy, Roas, Prestige, all the listed companies, the top brands like Godrej, what are they trying to salvage this for? How they gonna, really stand out? Or is it a time of consolidation, which was supposed to happen? We were anticipating post RERA anyways. Does it will happen very fast, do you think?
Look, I think valid questions, but it is also valid for all the sectors, right? If you see, MSMEs have been the worst hit. So a friend of mine owns about 30, 35 car showrooms across Andhra and Telangana, right? And again, he relies on these migrant laborers for people who will be servicing the cars, working as mechanics, and he's also paying annual leases. Now, the thing that you mentioned, which is NBFC collapsing and the credit side getting tightened, and at the same time, developers not being able to accept cash, RERA being rolled out. So just by see, it is like this. It is like a pipe, right? If you just restrict one side and do not do anything about the other, the pipe is going to burst or it is going to suffer from a vacuum. So this is a large problem, and that is where the government measures need to sort of come in. Otherwise, MSMEs, irrespective of whether they are in real estate, automobile, or any other sector, these guys are going to be the hardest hit, and that is a big concern, because in a country like India, like what middle class is to demographics in India, MSMEs is to the corporate world. And what you're talking about, the listed companies, they are really the top of the pyramid. The Lodha, Shobhas, they anyways have deep enough pockets to sustain 18, 24 months, even with zero cash flows. They have sufficient assets or sufficient liquidity to sort of tide over these phases. It is really the middle tier, so which is the MSMEs, like you said, a large number of brokers. There will be consolidation, of course, but consolidate and do what if there is no demand? There will be secondary and rental demand, which will sort of push some of these brokers to aggressively pursue listings on a digital platform, try to reduce the lead time in transactions, maybe adopt digital signatures, etc. all of that is happening even in this part of the world, right? But the larger question is, how is the government going to, support these MSMEs, and how are they going to tide over this phase? Without SOPs, it is not going to be possible. So that is the biggest cause of worry. That is also why the the growth rate of the economy and the unemployment rate might suffer.
Makes sense, Ashutosh. Yes, all the sectors, and especially MSME startups, was a big, discussion point in India a couple of years. So a lot of startups are facing the brunt. So we'll come to all these questions because I think Q&A is getting piled up for each one. So let's hear Amit now. So Amit, for you to light up the panel. Prashant, I'm not seeing Amit. Yeah, he's there. So Amit, for you to light up the panel now. So how's, Syska been talking about, how your sales have been talking about, or what do you think is going to happen? You agree to what Vineet and Ashutosh said, that it's nothing, it's, a phase that we all have to pass through and everything will be back to normal? The catalyst, or you see it's a change that we are seeing? What your stand on that?
Manoj, I think from last almost a month's time, I guess, I think there is a lot of anxiety that we are all going through. Across all, those marketing forums that I'm participating, I think, people are talking about as to how the media consumption has changed, and more so if you look at the digital side of the story, and how in some cases, the growth is not even, in 2 digits, in fact, it is going up to 3 digits, and stuff like that. We don't know what's going to be the new normal or the new abnormal, as they say, I think. But what I know is that I think come what may, we have to be very, very hopeful of what we are going to encounter maybe in next 3 or 6 or 9 months after this entire thing settles, I think, to an extent, right? If you look at the entire, even, the consumer space, we all had our different needs before COVID sort of came to our life. And now, if you, sort of honestly look at what we are going through, is we are just ensuring that, our basic needs are met right now. Gone are the days when we were talking about, the higher needs in the Maslow's theory, right? So we are looking at safety, we are looking at physiological needs, and so on and so forth. So I think somewhere we have normalized a lot in terms of our needs. And that's a reflection of our consumers also, right? Coming to Syska, I think it's a very well marketed brand, and I think that's the benefit of investing in this important function from day one. If you look at it from when we started the journey, it's not beyond maybe 6 or 7 years, but from the day one, we ensured that we invested a lot of energies in marketing, and that's wherein I think we are today able to reap in a lot of benefits of those efforts that we have been doing from last almost 6-7 years in a row right now. And I think that makes the entire story much more interesting. I know the reason is not so interesting, which is COVID. It's a pandemic. People are getting infected. A lot of fatalities happening, but I think if you look at it from the other lens, I think it brings every marketeer this interesting opportunity to take a step back and say, okay, fine, how can I make this entire proposition still very attractive, right, for my consumers? And I think that is what we are even up to as a brand. So it's a very diversified brand right now. So I know when you say Syska, you said, why don't you light up the conversation, because that's what we are known for, which is Syska LED. But having said that, we are also into a lot of other segments, being FMEG brand, which is fast moving electrical goods. So we are in the space of even grooming appliances. We are also serving, your mobile accessories and so on and so forth. So in fact, from last, more than a month or so, I would say, we have seen a considerable amount of jump in the demand for smart LED products, in fact. So, if it's about simple LEDs, yes, I mean, like you can go and buy that from a regular hardware or electrical shop. In fact, you can go and buy online as well. That's not a problem. But I think the whole shift is, from the consumer side, looking at, what's next even for me, because I'm staying most of the times at my home because of the fact it's work from home. Can I ask some more comfort and convenience as well? So I think we are looking at a lot of those, demand, surge as well, because of the fact, people want smart products now. Products which are app controlled, products which are controlled because of your voice assistants, so on and so forth. That's one part, which is the flagship brand, Siskelity. Also, if you look at my grooming appliances category, I think it is also seeing a good amount of increase because, we know for a fact that I think, we are not, we are not, able to go to a nearby salon or a parlor to go and get ourselves groomed, right? So what do you do then? So it's also about, can I help you, to stay groomed, even when you're at home, right? So I think we have remodeled a bit of that channel from where we are, talking to the consumers from the medical store perspective right now, and we are, able to meet that demand. So I think it's a very interesting time for us as a brand, and I think that makes me very, very hopeful that, once this is all gone, we are going to, come up again much more stronger and much more firm on what we are going to offer to the consumers.
Very interesting, Amit. FMEG is something really lured me a lot. FMCG is what we were talking about, is essentials, what is there. But FMCG, yes. And while you were talking, I was just thinking that this lockdown has made 80% of chefs and cook at home. Sharing your new recipe is the new trend that I see on Facebook, Instas, and everywhere. So obviously there is a lot of, home appliances demand that's coming in. But what about budget, Amit? What do you think? Is budgets going to be the same? Will Syska keep promoting, brand sponsorships, like, as I mentioned in the past, also heavily spending across, content marketing, Kapil Sharma show, Syska will redecorate your home and all that. A big amount of chunk goes over there. So I just had a word with, IDFC Bank, they were doing the same. So will this continue? This will be the normal, or there will be a new normal that you're going to talk about? Because many people in the Q&A is going to ask about, from the marketing side, that our marketing budgets and planning going to be the same that we learned in the past and had been practicing, or no, that we have to be very conscious and spends have to be very, very wise now. New EBITDAs and new ratios need to be talked about.
See, I think it's a little tricky question to answer, in those many simple words. I think definitely there's going to be a pressure in terms of the budget efficacies, because let us accept that, we will have a lot of restrictions coming in, as far as the marketing budgets are concerned. But having said that, I guess the fundamental still needs to be very, very clear that, social distancing should not be that, you're looking at customer distancing. And I think because of that belief as a fundamental, we are still, talking about the benefits of the brand, even on television today. So, while there is a situation which is not very, very supportive, you can still find Syska as a brand talking to you on your television screen and giving you the basic benefits of the very category, in fact, so that, when you come out of the lockdown tomorrow, you will definitely go for that benefit, hopefully. And I think that's the way the brand has always been looking at it, right? Coming to the second part of it, which is about any shuffle that you see, I think I don't see much of it because, we have managed to make this brand, a very, very retail-facing brand because of the fact that we have used a lot of mass media. That is number one. We have been talking as a thought leader for the category, in fact, and I think these, situations, that we are a part of right now should not, derail the very, positioning the brand has achieved just like that. Because these are the times when you're supposed to, in fact, be, far more stronger and far more determined, to go and connect with your consumers. So I don't see, a major change, but in terms of the approach, yes, will continue to be where we are.
Perfect. So makes sense now. So I think everyone has heard, all of us, and very varying views. For some, it's a new normal. Some says there is no change. So let's go to Q&As now, and let's see what the panelists want to ask and whom, and let's answer them each one by one. So first question comes from Kavaldeep, who asks, my question is related to real estate. What is the kind of communication that is expected after COVID-19 by developers to attract customers? Will this be related towards wellness homes? Interesting. or anything that you would want to share light upon. So questions to Vinith and Ashutosh, what do you suggest to Kawal? Wellness home, anything in radar for Shobha or Embassy in the pipeline, or
Not yet.
will the discussion start on that?
Yeah, not yet, but Kawalji's nice question there. In terms of what should real estate brands communicate, they should communicate their core proposition, which is why does a person buy a home? It is either for a utilitarian purpose or it is an address. If you do not have a home, you buy a home because you need a home. And if you have a home, you need a better home. So your business card or visiting card can show a better address that you are looking, you're staying in Embassy One or Shobha XYZ or World One or Armani Towers or whatever. All right. So the fundamental proposition should not be changed. Okay. There's one interesting thing about communication. If you notice, I took a video collage of some of the advertisements which have been published during COVID. And all the advertisements are eerily similar that these are difficult times. We are with you. We are with you. We are in this together. All right. Where was this airline when my baggage became 52 kg instead of 50 kgs and they were charging me for that 2 kgs, right? So it is karma. It is coming back to bite you. So the communication essentially should focus on the core proposition instead of sort of being swayed away by, hey, this is COVID, this is a crisis, we will tide over together. I know no company really cares for the consumer, and the true ones who do, they will always indicate their value proposition. Say why an LED is good for you, why a Cisco LED is good for you, why a home is good for you, or why a TV channel or a news channel is good for you, right? The core benefit should always be, it. Having said that, brand communications budget is going to take a hit because my team, again, I have structured my team into 5 general managers. So there is brand communication, there is digital, there is telesales, there is events exhibition, then there is BTL. The sponsorship budget, the additional, which we typically call the share of voice budget, that is obviously going to take a hit because we really don't have the luxury of spending in this difficult market. Having said that, one should never forget the share of voice versus share of mind graph, which we all read in marketing, right? So you have an equilibrium between share of voice and share of market, and any additional increase in spend is going to give you excess share of voice. So what is going to happen is a lot of media opportunities are going to open up. So a holding which was costing me 12 million dirhams a year is now costing me 6 million dirhams a year. Print ads, where I was getting a 24 ad deal for a year, I'm now getting 36 ads per year. So there are going to be those opportunistic media purchase and long-term bookings that can be made by smart brand communications managers, smart media managers. And those are something that will be very crucial because in all likelihood, your competitors are going to lay very low in terms of advertising. So if you do continue to advertise, your share of voice is going to increase. And when the equilibrium returns, your share of market is going to increase. So effectively, if you are continuing to spend as much or 10% more in marketing, what it can do is almost help you gain more than 20 to 25% in market share. And for any category, any brand, this is huge. So that is how companies should now look at allocating their marketing budget. They should not look at it typically the revenue to cost ratio, which is how real estate budgets get determined usually. Some people have a 1% limit, 2%, 3% kind of a figure. But I think for this particular phase, we should take a slightly long-term view, make maybe a 24-month budget plan, which is very rare in real estate, but at least I'm trying to do that, push it out, push it internally. That's about it. In terms of communication, communicate the core proposition. There will be squeeze in brand communication budget, but there is merit in advertising because all your competitors are going to lay low. The media costs are going to be lesser. So every money spent is going to give you twice the bang of the buck.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Kawal, I think you have got your answer. So things gonna remain the same. Keep marketing. Budgets shouldn't be taken aback. Sustenance campaign should be there always. You should keep talking. Customers gonna come into routine sooner. So moving next question to Vineet. So Vineet, a question is AI and ML role in real estate marketing. I will rather put it this way, not only limited to AI and ML, but do you think physical real estate to prop tech is what we look forward for?
but essentially that was a trend, Manoj, that was driving in before COVID as well, right? Essentially, AI and automation was something that the real estate and all categories were looking at, not just because of the COVID situation. Um, Also, I'm a strong believer in it's not about the number of bots you have, but it's the amount of life you have in your bots, right? So essentially, the simple funda is the fact that if there is a requirement and there's something that you can automate or use AI to make life more easy for the consumer at the end of the day, make it more efficient for yourself, save marketing dollars, you should go out and do it. And like I said, it's not necessarily prop tech or AI was not something that real estate was looking at just because of COVID. It's something that we've been looking at across Shobha, across Embassy, across all groups that you would see. They're partnering with multiple facets of AI and automation across verticals. And that's something that will continue happening. Yes, there'll be a certain more speed that will come into it. It'll be easier to get budgets approved for it. But I feel, I think it's a trend that came in the last 2-3 years, and it will continue to grow a lot more, especially in our sector.
Vineet, Rohit continues to ask you, what do you think will be the new normal for experiential? So, experiential marketing was a new lingo a couple of years back, and everybody was trying to talk a lot as if a new, discovery has been done. So will that fashion be in the picture, or no, it's like done and dusted in the new environment now?
No, I see, like I said, I mean, I'm a strong believer that let's not see, these were trends that had come into place because of the experiences that brought in. Talk about experiential, talk about AI, talk about automation, talk about virtual marketing as well. I feel that there is still scope and place to run this. Like I said, we're hitting the panic button a little too early. I think it's time to absorb the situation a lot more. As Ashutosh mentioned, it's a great time to plan for all your budgets across experiential, automation, AI, any kind of marketing. Is a great time to plan and get more out of the system. But I feel squashing any trend right now, I don't think is the right right way to go about it. These trends have come into place after a lot of technology push, as well as a lot of new age marketing push that came into the country. So I feel that these trends will stay. It's too early to be saying that something or the other is dead, especially in our world. I feel there's still merit in all forms of marketing, and I feel we'll see them grow going forward.
Perfect, Vineet. Nikhil Manchanda asks, in the zero mobility, how is your companies dealing in the COVID period? I think each one of panelists has answered that, Nikhil. So Amit has made parallel to FMCG, FMEG, fast moving electrical goods, to talk about the new lingo and showing a good growth and momentum. Ashutosh and Vineet told about situations are going for the new norms now. Rahul has already launched a new channel again now, Shemaroo. And that's what he's trying to tell, that yes, adaptability is the answer and the key to it. So we'll rather address the next question. Question for Mr. Vineet Singh. How do you think co-working will change because of this situation?
Yeah, I was guessing that would be a question that would come in for sure, especially with WeWork being one of the brands that I work with. Honestly, you know what? I've been in multiple conversations across, and I feel co-working is actually going to, contrary to what people are thinking, a lot of people, there's a whole group of people who are saying co-working is going to be dead because of the whole work from home phenomenon. But I feel that honestly, and as a group also, we feel that this is something that's going to actually boom going forward. And I'll tell you why. Simple fact, right? A lot of big companies, a lot of big MNCs are going to look at multiple pockets of work. Like I said, work from home is not going to be an easy thing to implement on the go, straight out of the block, and everyone's working from home. Not going to happen in our context. Like I said, we are a lot more, out there as a community, a lot more like connection, like having conversation. But a lot of people, what they're going to do is start having multiple pockets. So you may not have one big office with 600 people in one tech park, but you'll divide that across a city, or divide that across a location. So I feel co-working, and that obviously ready to suit your needs, flexible option obviously comes with co-working then. And I feel that that's the way it's going to go. Co-working is actually going to see a boom. Also, co-working, another big advantage that you have with co-working is that you can be flexible with your requirements and needs, right? So essentially, for example, with WeWork right now, We made a lot of changes, keeping in mind social distancing when we open, a lot of changes between seatings, and all of that, right? So there's a lot of modular and flexibility that comes with co-working, and a lot of employers, companies are going to start looking at this option, an easy to go option where you can go, have your people, and also because of those spaces, they fester a lot of interactivity. So I feel co-working is going to be on the rise as compared to what people are thinking. And honestly, I feel that it's going to be one big game changer in the whole real estate.
Perfect, Vineet. I think you were trying to hint upon that co-working is not only a plethora for freelancers, but even serious corporates going to look for that as an alternate choice now.
But it's always been that, Manoj. I mean, even with WeWork, if you look at it, in India, we've got 50% of our members as enterprise audience, right? They are big companies that sit with us, and essentially, big enterprises are looking at co-working locations. And like I said, a lot of co-working players, you see a lot of enterprises sitting with them as compared to just freelancers. The whole, I think it's a myth, and that needs to be busted. Is that co-working spaces is only used by freelancers or startups? It's actually, I mean, as the trend I see, I mean, it's like equal split. And I feel after the COVID situation, it's actually going to be enterprises taking bigger chunk of that share.
Perfect. We need one more query before Amit comes in. Nikhil Manchanda asks you, is there a boom that we see in tier 2, 3 and 4 towns, and non-metros will be the more preferred choice?
Honestly, I mean, Ashutosh brought this up in one of his conversations. Is opportunity is going to be galore, especially after this situation. And tier 2 is also, like I said, it's not a new trend that just come in because of the COVID situation. Purchasing power in tier 2 was increasing. Lifestyle changes were being made in tier 2 cities. And essentially, that's one market that big real estate builders were going to be looking at, irrespective of COVID or not COVID. Will that, like I said, will this change in terms of speeding up a few things? Yes, it will. But across all categories, I mean, I don't think Rahul or Amit can deny the fact that tier 2 is a big market for them as well. And essentially, it's always been, I mean, it's the mass of where our country lives in from a business point of view. And I feel that it's going to be a trend that we'll all look at, and real estate will be a part of that trend as well.
Perfect, Vineet. Amit, Vikas Patial asks you, FMCG, FMCD, zero sales and fixed costs. How do you guys address the same? Will this result in increase in the prices of the product, as break-even needs to be maintained to run a company? So how much price rise?
Thanks, Vikas, for the question. I think, when you look at the fixed cost, I think it is not something that you incur for a short-term benefit. And if you look at the very category also, the prices of the LED products have been going towards south from last, I guess, almost 2 to 3 years of time. So there was a time when LED bulb was like really costly. And then suddenly the entire space became far more competitive and the prices started slashing, right? And I think now today, when you look at the LED bulb, the same LED bulb that was maybe costing you around say $250 initially now comes to you for even hardly say 100 plus or something, right, today. But having said that, there was no compromise on the quality that the brands were giving you, because I think if you go to any specialty market, when you decide that, oh, I need to go and change the LED lights of my home in bulk, and if you go and visit the market, you will see a lot of those those Me Too brands, which are like not even brands actually. They are just giving you cheap prices, the benefit of cheap prices, but there is no warranty to it, right? And that's when I think men are separated from boys, because they are giving you good warranty, they are giving you quality products. So I don't see that there is any possibility of price increase, because that's not what is happening in the LED category. And I think it's also as to how you create more value for the customer, right? So I spoke about smart LEDs, right? So these LEDs are definitely costly compared to the regular ones. But when you look at the value, I think there is enough and more that a customer gets from these products, because of which the demand is just constantly increasing. So, because it's no more about a single switch on and switch off benefit that you render from the product. It's more about the experience, because we are listening a lot of conversation about as to how experience will still remain at the core of the entire offering. And I think this is the very experience that these products give you, and at a decently good price. And I think for that the consumer is ready, because it's about technically choosing from more than 16 million colors. And I mean, like, imagine 16 million color is not a joke, right? The convenience with which you can operate this, sitting at one place, you can, connect this to an app, you can connect this to a voice assistant and create a whole new experience. I think it's beyond that product functionality to, an immersive experience. So I think if you focus, on these crucial aspects, I don't see that, you just need to focus on the regular product, the prices going down, and hence you going berserk. I think that's not the game for brands, because they're here for longer, duration, and for a very, very serious business reasons, right? So I think, I hope you go and buy those products and come back to me later on and say, okay, it was an awesome experience.
Perfect, Amit. The good thing about you is you don't leave your compose. Smilingly, you answer in a very positive way, indirectly trying to answer his worry. So his worry was there are companies who have fixed costs with no revenues. So you have given in a very apt reply that it's always had been survival of the fittest. And from the days when LEDs were new to today, companies who are prepared from day one, they'll keep surviving and thriving. Situations often come and go. So happy, Vishal, I think it has been answered. If next you want more detail, raise up another query as well. So Ambika asked a question. What about signage market, Amit? Will that be there more? Or no, there is no signage business, no POP, POS, brandings, all that stuff happening anymore?
See, I think it's a very valid question, which is coming to me, very often these days. It's not very difficult to answer, I would say, because the moment of truth for me as a LED brand is always that retail counter, right? And that's where I need to ensure that when I've created a huge that aura about the brand in your mind, it still needs to be triggered a bit as a recall element when you go to the counter, right? And I think that's what makes the entire retail branding exercise far more important for me as a brand. So, as far as your signed goods are concerned, as the question is, or those POP, POS materials, I think yes, they are important, and I think they will continue to be important for us as we go ahead. Nothing going to sort of hit that route for us.
Perfect. So you feel signage will have a nominal hit or no? Or it's going to be same?
See, as of now, we are focusing on ensuring that what we have created in the ecosystem remains with us, instead of going out and looking at new product placements or new retail shops. Because as I said, it is a very tricky situation for us to ensure that, whether you're focusing on customer acquisition or you're focusing on consumer retention, right? And I think for us, it's important to retain what we have right now. So if we have example, X number of shops within the ecosystem of the distribution model we have, it's important to keep them primed up rather than going out and chasing those new guys in the place and then realizing, oh God, I'm nowhere, right? So I think that's the important aspect to plan your retail branding budgets.
So too early to have a major transition right now. Stay where we are and let the new orientation take its time. Perfect. Yeah. So moving next, where is consumer behavior being considered in this? Why would consumer want to buy real estate or luxury good or high-end cars? Why? Vineet, why? Who are the people who are going to buy luxury right now? Ashutosh, why? Questions to real estate guys more clear. So, okay, light and all, I understand it's necessity. Why will someone buy luxury real estate anymore?
See, as I said, people buy real estate for two reasons. One is utilitarian purpose and other is for badge value. Okay. Now, if someone does not have a home, does not have a place of protection, he or she is going to buy a home based on the budget that he or she has. Roti Kapda Makan was said by Lal Bahadur Shastri like what, 50 years back, and that still holds, right? FMCG, real estate and clothing business is going to...
Ashutosh, I think
That's
the
the
query
second
is
part.
very direct now. Roti is okay, but gold foiling roti, will it have a market anymore?
So that is the thing. So that is the second part. Now the question is utilitarian part being answered. Now, why would people buy buy luxury goods? And specific, I can first talk specifically about luxury real estate. Now the thing is, not everybody has suffered. There are still buyers. There are still opportunities out there in market. Okay. So in Dubai, for instance, villas which in Palm Jumeirah, which were available for 20 million dirhams, 20 million dirhams, are now available for 8 million dirhams. Now, if I am an industrialist and if I have lost some money or I have protected my portfolio, I have withdrawn some funds from equity, from some other investment vehicles, I will move it to real estate. And these are the buyers. And obviously, it is not a consumer behavior or a demand-based thing. There will, see, the market for luxury is always small. All right. Let's understand
So
that.
you are trying to hint at 8 million is an opportunity. It's not going to fall further down. It won't come at 2 million.
See, again, opportunity is what you think is a good opportunity, right? The point with luxury is there is no real price tag. It is how much you perceive and how much value that you attribute to it. So, for example, if the Burberry tie that I'm wearing for me looks expensive at 600 dirhams, I'm not going to buy it. But if I'm traveling to London and in Heathrow, I find it for 240 dirhams, I see that, okay, this is a deal and it will look good on me. I'm going to buy it if I have the money. So again, luxury is beyond general consumer behavior or rational, right? It is luxury because it is irrational, because you generally don't see a rational pattern in luxury purchase. Having said that, there will be opportunities and people with money will take that opportunity. Right now, there is Ramadan going on in Middle East, right? From 21st April onwards. If you go into Mall of Emirates or Dubai Mall, you will see a 200 people queue in front of Cartier shop or the Chanel store. Now, why? Because these guys were waiting to go out, waiting to gift their loved ones for on the occasion of Ramadan, and these are the shops which have actually seen a spike in sales. So again, whoever has asked Renuka, right? So where is consumer behavior? So there is consumer behavior. The only thing is consumer behavior in luxury works very, very differently. It is not the usual consumer behavior that we sort of read about in our marketing lessons.
Also, I think, I mean, just to add to what Ashutosh is saying, like I've been saying, it's too soon to be talking about behavioral change, right? Essentially, I mean, we are social animals and our needs are very unique and different, and especially in the luxury segment as well, right? When you go out to satiate that need, it's because of certain conditions, maybe a change in lifestyle, or maybe you have more purchasing power. And I feel um, let's wait till this gets over, and let's wait till how things change to understand if there's been a pattern in behavioral change. Like, I'll give you an example, a very simple example. Tomorrow, if restaurants start opening and the government allows restaurants to open, I'm not sure people will stop just going to restaurants right now. I mean, they would still be going. You'll see restaurants being packed. People will still go out to eat because these changes take time to happen, right? And people have planned certain things. And like I said, COVID is being seen as a small bump, especially in the audience that caters to the luxury segment, right? For them, it's a small bump. So defining this to become a behavioral change for them is too early to call out right now. I think that is something that I don't think we should be worried about as soon as now.
There's a new term called revenge spending on luxury. I don't know if you guys have been reading about that. That's happening. So you don't know how consumers are actually going to be looking at this post lockdown. So luxury is a segment I think is going to be very tricky one to wait and watch.
I agree with you, Rahul, because when I look at the timeline after the epiphany phase, I have actually put in the false positive. So, which is where you will actually see a huge surge of irrational spending. And, I was just looking out of the window during the discussion, and all the Europeans are out right now. The temperature is about 38, 39 degrees, which is still quite hot. It's not evening here yet. And Europeans are out with their kids, with their dogs, jogging around. Now, the thing is, us Indians are still very disciplined, and Asians are very disciplined. Okay, if the Prime Minister says stay at home, we stay at home. Because, if someone has asked us not to go out in car, they will fine us. So we will not take out our car. So we want to do everything to stay alive. We want to do everything to sort of save money. But the free world doesn't work that way. If you look at the attitude of Americans, Europeans, you just can't tell them what to do. They will say that, okay, this is my life. I decide whether I go out for a jog with my dog by the canal side, or whether I want to risk die, or whether I want to stay at home. It is my choice. So people have actually booked seats in Burj Al Arab for when the lockdown was over. I mean, you're home for 3 to 4 weeks. You don't know what to do. What would you do once the government opens up these eateries, right? You will go to the best Michelin star restaurant and have the dinner which you probably have been waiting for so long. You had cancelled because you were busy, because now you have time. You are going to indulge. You are going to buy that car which you had been waiting for, because Ramadan deals are available, and now there are some people who are doing panic selling. So the secondary market has also opened up.
Yeah, and also, I mean, to add to what Rahul was saying, it's actually, he said something very on point. Essentially, one of the big words that is associated also with luxury, apart from planning it, is impulse, right? And you'll see a rise in that, and especially where Rahul's coming from. Also, the fact that a lot of people are gonna come out of it and say, "Hey, listen, I have a lot of money, and I don't know where the world is going." Consumers are thinking like that, and then they're like, listen, I'm going to go out and spend and make the most out of it. Now, that's another way of looking at that as well. I mean, like I said, I mean, we change on a daily basis, right? Right now we're locked up in our houses. So we tend to have adopted to certain behaviors. But once we are out again, maybe we'll go back, or maybe we'll have a completely new set of behavioral changes that we'll see in the Indian consumer.
Vineet, will there be people with a lot of money after the lockdown? Because US has shown highest number of unemployment data, same as Italy, same as France, same as Germany. Unfortunately, India's data is yet not out. But if you see across the world, unemployment crisis is the biggest crisis the world is looking at right now. 0% is the growth expected of the GDP. Negative growth for many developed countries so far. So keeping that in mind, will there be people with a lot of money left?
No, so like Ashutosh and Rahul also mentioned in the beginning of his chat, right? I mean, it's also important for the governments to realize, and across the world, not just here, but figure out stimuluses, figure out ways to protect jobs, figure out ways to protect industries, figure out way to adopt to this new normal, as we're calling it. I mean, it'll be based on them to be fueling a lot of this. See, let's understand this very clearly. If the government is not providing enough support across any part of the world, I don't think you will see a lot of people coming out of this, right? And Ashutosh was talking about SMBs. Now, essentially, they will need a lot of support from the government. So, from an unemployment standpoint, from protecting category standpoint, I think the government will need to make a strong effort across the world to go out and push sustained amount of stimulus money packages to help each of these criteria. I mean, honestly, unemployment is something that we're going to all be looking at right in the face, but it'll be the governments that have planned for it and who acknowledged it, understood, and provide the stimulus. They will be the ones that will stand out tall post this period of time.
Perfect. So I hope somebody from government participant list. If not, Prashant, if you can record this and send them, because 3 months of moratorium is not going to revive economy at all. So that's what we need to look upon. So moving next, Renuka asked, where is consumer behavior being considered in this? Oh, okay, that's done. Sorry. Hi, Amit. What will be the right marketing mix for an elite fashion brand, considering the audience will be really skeptical in the purchase? So Amit, elite fashion brand, marketing mix, what do you suggest?
Can you repeat the question, Manoj?
What will be the right marketing mix for an elite fashion brand, considering the audience will be really skeptical in the purchase now? Elite fashion, again, somewhere related to luxury discussion now.
So I think a part of it is already answered by Vineet, because if it's luxury, I think it's more impulsive. It's kinda irrational at times, because if you want this, right? And I think there is no second thought about that. And I come from a segment which is not really essential, but not even as such as very luxury as well. So I think for me, the marketing mix, if that's the broader question which is asked, right? I think it will truly depend as to, what is my immediate, business objective once the lockdown is over, because ultimately we need to ensure that there is an enough and more cash flow coming in the system. What kind of efficiencies is being expected out of my marketing activities? And as I said, that short term and long term will continue to address the brand promise we have been doing for the last so many months and years together. So I think it's too early, because people are talking about digital transformation and digital marketing and all, and I think, and I truly respect that, because I'm myself a digital consumer now. But I think the important point for me is to ensure that, okay, fine, once this entire brouhaha is settled, what's the new normal for, the consumption patterns? I think where these plateaus will shift themselves. So typically today people are talking about, TV consumption which has gone up, or the OTT. In fact, Rahul can, support that. It's for today, when you are actually at home and you don't have much to do. I mean, like, yes, you are actually working from home, but yes, you have a bit of your time available, which, you are, putting in your entertainment and fitness and wellness, which is, all available in the digital space. But once the lockdown is over, Vinith was mentioning that, yes, as humans, we have the tendency to go out, right? We won't be sticking back to our homes, because otherwise the kind of punishments that you see, which is given to those people who are breaking the rules, is still very, very frequently seen on television, right? And that is a reflection of what we are truly. I mean, like today we are sitting at home because we are told to sit at home and help the country to ensure that the virus is not, spreading its wing wider. But once this is all over, we will go back to our, I would assume and hope, to a regular regime of going out, meeting people, socializing with people. And I think if that's the whole case, I think I was just reading, people have concerns about BTL and out of home and stuff like that. I think dunya khatam nahi hone wali. I think that's not the end of the world for us right now. So be hopeful. I mean, like right now also I can see my consumers. So Vinith and Ashutosh will make awesome flats and residential apartments. Rahul will provide the OTT to you guys. I will bring in my LED, and Manoj and Prashant will buy that. So I think that's being hopeful, I guess.
And I second that very strongly, because if you see the data are not limited to the negative, frequencies more out there. I understand, because people are worried, and when you're worried, you get attracted to negative reading a lot. But in one of the webinar, one very important aspect was raised by one speaker, saying that if you see, US is one of the most affected country from this situation of COVID. The maximum number of cases and crossing lakhs of numbers. India is at much better stage. Even the nationals of US have came on the streets demanding they have to open up the lockdown now. They don't want to be confined in home anymore. So I think if you understand this, we have been social animal and we will always remain. Yeah, Ashutosh, you were saying something.
No, they are demanding that the lockdown be lifted, while the fact is that they were never really in a lockdown.
Yeah, not like us for sure.
Yeah.
Not like us for sure. So that's true. And Dubai, we see lockdown is already open since 26th of April. And we see things have been going all normal. Much things are in routine and back to things. I have been talking to people over there. They are going to their offices. They are going for their jobs. Apart from schools, I think everything is back to normal. So which is the good indication that economy has to sustain, and some way, some things that we have been made for, that's alma mater is not going to change overnight. So Neha,
Manoj, can I just make a point on the last question which was raised? A very, very interesting question. How do you market to a new category, like a semi-luxury category? I think very interesting question, and I think Amit sort of answered it very well. I just feel, if you're looking at launching a new category at this stage, I don't think anybody has an answer for that. Anybody. So I personally feel marketing is 50% science and 50% art. Art is changing dramatically right now. The way we were consumers, the way we were understanding the games is all changing now for us. What we communicate, which is part of the art, is also going to change because of emotions changing right now. So I think what anybody should do at this stage is listen more. I think this is the time to actually listen to your consumers, listen to your category the most, get in the right cues, go with a marketing plan and be agile. Keep changing it every time. Because if you go with a fixed marketing plan that I'm going to do this mix. I'm going to spend 30% on digital, 30% on TV, 30% on outdoor. That's not going to work. You got to be so agile with your plan, especially in a launch phase or a new category you're trying to develop. That's sort of my viewpoint. So I thought I'll share that as well because I found the question very interesting.
No, I find that question interesting as well, because when we had the 2008 recession where we had the subprime crisis and Lehman Brothers, so I was at Lodha at that point in time. I was a product manager. We were faced with the same question, and the way to look at it is the marketing mix is always going to be the same. The four P's are going to be the four P's, come hell or high water, right? And the thing is, globally, I have seen this pattern. I mean, India and the places that I worked being an exception where we still place a lot of emphasis on product and pricing, people have relegated marketing to sort of brand communication. So people think that marketing guys only, do advertising and, do sponsorships. That is not the case, right? As we can see in today's panel, the insights which have come out most are typically on product and pricing. And these are the two of the most under-leveraged pillars of marketing, I would say. And back in 2009, Lodha actually launched a new category called Casa by Lodha, which today is contributing to 55% of its revenues. So any recession, it's a good time to sort of go back to the basics, look at the marketing mix, productions, right? So yesterday on LinkedIn, I received a very interesting suggestion that you are in real estate. I have a suggestion because work from home is becoming a new trend. Do you think study rooms or work enclosures in homes will be a good idea? And I thought, why not replace the puja areas which we typically see in most of the homes and create a working cubicle that could sort of so product development has to become big. I mean, you don't really need lavish in considering the category that you're operating in. So the right kind of product priced at the right levels, I think you can have a winner. And if it is whether it is elite fashion or mid premium range, there is always a market out there which is there to be tapped.
So dear, I hope everybody has tried to answer your query. Launch your elite fashion brand, approach us. We'll definitely have some consumerism left amongst us. So will there be in the market as well. And the best answer was, until unless you go and try in the market, any hysteria will just pull you back. So too early to say market is not there. Marketing mix purely depends on your brand and the positioning that you want your brand to have it. So you need to choose that. But definitely be agile for the brand, because if you are agile, you have to keep adapting. Market never works in vacuum. So no single strategy is always the answer. So going further, we'll just answer the last question because we are already ahead of time. Speakers have already been kind enough to give all ears to us. So I'll request all the panelists as well. The other questions, you can please type the answers so that they should get direct answers from you all. The last question that we take on the forum is Sparsh. Sparsh has asked, will the cross-channel collaboration among the as seen to provide essential goods and services? So this is actually, you see, we had been talking amongst our friends as well, that one person in the family should have essential services now for the future before a next pandemic hits us. It's always a phobia. Moment, our Prime Minister come on the TV and we are worried, should we stock up more flour and sugar at home? Will it be available tomorrow or not? There wasn't a shortage of supplies in the market for a day, but there was lot of scare pan-India. It's not limited to geography in South or North or East or West. People were madly buying up as if it's a doomsday and they are not going to get anything tomorrow on. From milk to sugar, from flour to vegetables, houses were piled up in a manner that they thought they don't have to go out for months. It's actually a question. Is the world moving or giving more importance to essential services? There will be a change in that scenario?
I'd just like to take a shot at that. Essentially, every time there's a need across the world, whenever there's a need, there's an opportunity. and products or brands rise up whenever there's those at those right times during those opportunities, and then they become the the big brands in the world that you look at today. Is essential services, like you're saying, going to be the new entity that everyone's going to be looking at? Again, like I said, it's just too early. I mean, it's too early. Essential services have actually always played a role in our lives. It's, if you look at it, we feel the pinch a lot more right now because of the fact that we're locked down in confined spaces, and that's only what is allowed. However, I mean, tomorrow there could be, the world is changing rapidly, especially with this corona crisis. We know one thing, that the unknown out there is so much more. I mean, there's still so many things that science still has to solve, which means that there is, but tomorrow there could be another thing which could be associated maybe with non-essential services, right? I mean, these things are not something that you can predict and jump onto. But however, if there is a need and there's an opportunity and you can create a sustainable environment or create a product or a brand that can actually go and, help in the longer run, then that's a good idea to do. But don't plan it just because essential services on the right. So let's go out and start something from a shorter point of view, shorter time frame point of view. I feel that's what we should be looking at.
Maybe societal. Perfect, Vineet. So I hope we answered Sparsh your query well. And if you summarize all the speakers, I just understand one thing from them. Too early to react. Lot of hysteria and fear mongering happening. Calm down. It's a good break that we have got. Use it as a sabbatical. I have done that. Many of us have been doing that sabbatical to groom, uplift your company's thoughts, plans, strategize more, spend more time, work balance. So pure balance to the life side now, not to the work. It's at that time. So post that, more rigor, more passion can be business side of it. That's why we're looking at the scene. Too early to draw conclusions on the world being changed. The world is there, same as it is. It's just a small pause that has come in, a small hurdle that has come in and will be crossed. Thank you. Thank you, Rahul, Amit, Ashutosh, Vineet. And I think it was really, really helpful for me and everyone over there. Request you again to type the answers in the query box to people who have directly asked you queries. And thank you once again. Prashant, over to you now.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, it's already 6:40. So we'll close it down here. And yes, as Manoj said, there's nothing to worry. And all the panelists also have said that 2 months time max, and we'll be back to kind of normal with everything, people going out, people eating out, and all those stuff. So in that note, I'll like to thank the attendees who were a part of this, and also the panelists. Thanks a lot. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.